Okay, so good morning, everyone. We are the Group 1 of the Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in General Science, second year of Block 10. And we will going to report or we will going to expound, discuss about the skin and eye, the different diseases, conditions, and also the transmissions, the causes of this disease, and also the diagnosis, the prevention, and treatment for this kind of diseases. Okay, so before we will go further to our discussion about the different kinds of diseases that are present in our skin and our eyes, let us go first into our introduction. Introduction. Throughout the existence of humans here in this world, it is mainly evident that our skin and eye are one of the most important parts of our body, which is very present or very evident in our society, that our eyes and our skin is one of the most essential parts of our body. Clearly, these two parts of our body plays a crucial role, or it has its functions in our physical body. So our eyes are a key sensory organ, feeding information to our brain about the outside world, which is very evident into our eyes, that mostly our eyes are the senders of information into our brain, na kahit may makita lang tayo sa ating paligid na kung ano-ano pa mang bagay, ay may nabubuo na agad sa utak natin na idea na pwede nating magamit into our life. Our eyes do the physical part of our seeing, which is correct. Our eyes has the function of seeing the outside world, na evident kasi nakakakita tayo ng iba't ibang bagay dito sa mundo. The signals they send allow our brain to build the picture that you see. By seeing different things in our environment, ito yung nakakapagbigay na ng image sa ating utak, at nakakapag-build na siya, nakakapag-establish na siya ng isang content or ng isang idea sa mind natin, na for example, nakita tayo ng puno, ay masasabi natin ito agad na puno. Kasi nga may mga structures like the roots, andyan na yung vines, andyan na yung stems, ayan. Na makikita lang natin sa mata natin na itong isang bagay ito ay puno na pala siya. Ayon. So we will go on to our skin. Meanwhile, as the body's largest organ, skin protects against germs, regulates body temperature, and enables touch or tactile sensations, which is very clear to us that our skin plays an important role in protecting our physical body, or in protecting our internal body or internal parts of the body from pathogens like bacteria, viruses that is present outside in our society. But there are some moments that we are experiencing some signs and symptoms in our skin and eyes that are truly affecting our daily routine in life. So, yes, it is evident because kapag nakakaranas tayo ng mga signs and symptoms ng isang sakit, which is example fever, kanyan, parang mahirap sa atin na gumalaw, or andun na yung mga signs and symptoms na may hirap gumalaw, ganyan, mataas yung body temperature ng katawan natin, mahirap bumangon, ganon, kasi nga nilalagnat tayo, hindi tayo masyado maagalaw, causing it for us to become vulnerable to any kinds of diseases and conditions. Causing it for us to become vulnerable to any kinds of diseases and conditions, which is correct, na kapag may nakapasok na some pathogens into our body, ganyan, may nakaranas tayo ng signs and symptoms ng isang sakit, parang feeling natin na mahina yung katawan natin, mahina yung physical body natin, kasi nga tinamaan tayo ng sakit, ay affected lahat ng mga ginagawa natin. And parang feel natin na hindi natin kayang makapag-execute ng isang physical na activity, like for example, hindi tayo makapagwalis, hindi tayo makapaglakad-lakad, makatakbo-takbo, ganyan, makapag-bike if ever, kasi nga tinamaan tayo ng isang sakit. Now, let us move forward into our discussion. Let us go further into our discussion for today. And now we will focus into the 12 different kinds of diseases in our skin and in our eyes. So, the first one is the vitiligo. Vitiligo is a skin condition characterized by the loss of skin color in patches. It occurs when melanocytes is the cells that is responsible for our skin pigmentation. So meaning if these melanocytes of or our if our melanocytes in our body has been destroyed, it results from vitiligo. The exact cause is unknown, but it is believed to involve autoimmune, genetic, and environmental factors. Vitiligo can affect any area of the body and may also involve hair and mucous membranes. So meaning, vitiligo doesn't affect not just through our skin in our hands, to our foot, into our body, but also it affects in our hair and our mucous membranes. Background of the disease. Vitiligo is a long-term condition where pale white patches develop on the skin due to a lack of melanin, which is the pigment that gives our skin its official or its color. It occurs when melanocytes, as I said earlier, is the cells that responsible for the melanin melanin. And when this cells has been destroyed, it results to this kind of disease or to this kind of condition, which is a vitiligo. This results in the development of white patches on the skin that may vary in size and locations. The condition occurs when melanocytes, the cells responsible for producing melanin, are destroyed. So vitiligo can be present in our body when the melanocytes has been destroyed. By what? It is destroyed by our immune system. When they attack our immune system, it affects our melanocytes or the cells that is responsible for our skin pigmentation, resulting to this kind of disease, vitiligo. While the exact cause of vitiligo is not fully understood, it is believed to be a combination of genetic, autoimmune, and environmental factors. Vitiligo can affect people of all skin types, but it is more noticeable in individuals with darker skin, which is evident. Darker skin or those people who have dark skin are possible have this kind of a disease or have this kind of condition. The condition is not contagious, meaning it is not like COVID-19 pandemic that is contagious, that is rapidly spreading all throughout a country. This vitiligo is not contagious or life-threatening, but it can have significant psychological and emotional impacts on those affected, which is very evident because when you have this kind of disease or condition, it really affects our psychological factors and or should I say psychological and emotional factors in our lives. Meaning, some people who have this kind of diseases affects their emotional aspects. Like for example, they can feel the sense of doubting themselves or questioning themselves why they have this kind of conditions. Like, pwede nilang tanungin nila sa kanilang sarili na, bakit ako pa ang tinamaan ng sakit na to? Na bakit sa akin pa nangyari ito? Ganyan. Which is, it really affects their psychological and emotional factor. Which affects their psychological self and emotional self. So now let us move forward to the pathogens that are present in this disease. Vitiligo is not caused by pathogens like bacteria or viruses, which is it is considered an autoimmune disorder where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks and destroys the melanocytes in the skin. As I said, earlier, that our immune system has been attacked and destroys the melanocytes in our skin that is responsible for the skin pigmentation, which is responsible in our skin pigmentation, or which is responsible in the pigmentation of our skin. So now let us move forward to the reported cases of this disease. According to a systematic review and modeling study, the prevalence of vitiligo varies across different regions and populations. The study identified 90 studies that reported on the prevalence of vitiligo, with rates ranging from 24.7 cases per 100,000 persons in years in South Korea to 61 cases per 100,000 persons years in the United States of America. Additionally, a multi-centric case control study in India found that the institutional prevalence of vitiligo was higher in females compared to males, with females outnumbering males among reported cases. Based on the reported cases here in our PowerPoint, females outnumbering males from the reported case, which is females are the most valuable or the more viable in this kind of disease, in this vitiligo disease. They are more compatible in this kind of disease rather than the males. Transmissions. Vitiligo is not contagious and cannot be transmitted from person to person through direct contact or airborne means. It is an autoimmune condition and not caused by infection, so which is evident vitiligo is not contagious and cannot be transmitted from one person to another. While the exact cause is not fully understood, genetics may play a role in the development of vitiligo. Individuals with a family history of autoimmune diseases or vitiligo may have a higher risk of developing this kind of condition. Causes of the vitiligo disease. The exact cause of vitiligo is not fully understood, but it is believed to be a such of genetic, autoimmune, and environmental factors. Factors such as a family history, autoimmune diseases, oxidative stress, and exposure to certain chemicals or trauma to the skin may contribute to its development. For example, in the autoimmune factors, one of the leading theories behind vitiligo is that it is an autoimmune disorder. In autoimmune diseases, the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells and tissues, which is involved the melanocytes. In the case of vitiligo, the immune system may target and destroy the melanocytes, which is responsible for the pigmentation of our skin. The cells responsible for producing melanin in our skin, giving its color in our skin. So now let us move forward to the symptoms of vitiligo disease. The main symptom of vitiligo disease is the development of white patches on the skin. These patches can occur anywhere on the body and may gradually spread or remain stable over time. In some cases, individuals may experience premature graying or whitening of hair on the scalp, eyebrows, eyelashes, or other parts of the body. Other symptoms like loss of skin pigment, symmetrical patterns, hair color changes, and sensitivity to sun. Like in sensitivity to sun, areas of skin affected by vitiligo may be more sensitive to sunlight and prone to sunburn. So now let us move forward to the diagnosis of a vitiligo disease. The diagnosis of vitiligo is usually based on a physical examination of the skin by a dermatologist. In some cases, additional tests such as a skin biopsy or blood test may be conducted to rule out other skin conditions or autoimmune diseases. For example, here in the physical examination, a dermatologist can diagnose vitiligo based on a physical examination of the skin and the characteristics of its white patches. Also, in rare cases, a skin biopsy may be performed to rule out other skin conditions and confirm the diagnosis of a vitiligo. So now let us move forward to the treatment of this vitiligo disease. Treatment options for vitiligo aim to restore pigment to the affected areas of the skin and may include topical corticosteroids or carcinurium inhibitors, phototherapy, and surgical procedures such as skin grafting or melanocyte transplantation. For example, in the topical corticosteroids, these are commonly prescribed to reduce the inflammation and repigment the skin in vitiligo patches. Also, in the calcinurium inhibitors, another option for controlling inflammation in vitiligo affected skin. It helps to reduce the skin and also in phototherapy, light therapy using UVB light can help stimulate pigment production in the skin and also depigmentation. In cases where vitiligo affects a large portion of the skin, depigmentation therapy may be an option to lighten the unaffected areas to match the vitiligo patches. So now let us move forward to the prevention of this disease. There is currently no known way to prevent vitiligo, but avoiding triggers such as excessive sun exposure and trauma to the skin may help reduce the risk of developing new patches. So there are general tips for managing vitiligo disease. Like for example, sun protection, avoid trauma to the skin, manage stress, and also healthy lifestyle. So let's go and move forward to the before and after results of this disease. Before undergoing treatment for vitiligo, individuals may experience emotional distress, low self-esteem, and social anxiety due to the visible white patches on their skin. The condition can impact a person's quality of life and self-image, leading to feelings of self-consciousness and isolation. Without treatment, vitiligo patches may continue to spread and become more prominent over time. So, meaning by the continuous spreading of this vitiligo disease, it may also affect their psychological and emotional aspect of their life, leading to an extreme isolation of themselves or also self-consciousness. After treatment, after receiving treatment for vitiligo, individuals may experience repigmentation of the affected skin areas, leading to a more uniform skin tone. Treatment options for vitiligo include topical corticosteroids, phototherapy, laser therapy, and surgical procedures like skin grafting. Successful treatment can help improve the appearance of the skin. Also, it can enhance their psychological and emotional factor as well here. Like for example, it can boost their self-confidence and also alleviate emotional distress associated with the condition. So now let us move forward to the availability of vaccines and possible microbes in categories. Availability of vaccine. There is no vaccine available for vitiligo as it is not caused by a pathogen that can be targeted by vaccination. There is no availability of vaccine and possible microbes in categories. In availability of vaccine, there is no vaccine available for vitiligo as it is not caused by a pathogen that can be targeted by vaccination. So meaning it is an autoimmune disease. It is not caused by a pathogen like bacteria or virus. So there is no available vaccine for this kind of disease. Possible microbes in categories. As vitiligo is not caused by pathogens, it does not fall into the category of diseases caused by microbes such as bacteria, viruses, or fungi, like for example, Staphylococcus aureus, like that. Vitiligo is not caused by a pathogen. It is an autoimmune disease. Instead, it is classified as an autoimmune disorder that affects our skin. So now, let us move forward to another kind of skin condition which is called psoriasis, which to be reported by my co-member, Miss China Alonso.
Thank you, Mr. John Philip, for calling me. Hello, I'm here to discuss the psoriasis disease. Psoriasis disease is a chronic autoimmune condition that affects our skin. Um, Isa itong sakit na kapag nagkamali ang immune system natin ng pag-attack ng healthy skin, ay nagkakaroon siya ng redness sa ating katawan. Kaya ito nabubuo at nagkakaroon tayo ng psoriasis. Punta naman tayo sa background of the disease. Gaya na nga nung sinabi ko kanina, nangyayari ito kapag ang immune system natin ay nagkamali at ang na-attack niya ay isang healthy skin cells. Kaya ang psoriasis from mild to severe ay pwede siyang matrigger from stress, infection, and certain meditation and changes in weather. Pathogen present in the disease. Ang psoriasis ay walang present na pathogens. Gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, isa itong autoimmune condition na kapag nagkamali ng na-attack na skin cell, ang immune system natin ay saka tayo magkakaroon ng mga red patches sa skin natin na nagre-result ng psoriasis. Transmission. Hindi napapasa ang psoriasis kasi ang cause nito ay malfunction sa immune system natin at wala siyang present na pathogens kaya hindi ito pwede mapasa sa ibang tao. Pero pwede siyang mapasa through genetics. So next, cause of the disease. Ang cause of the disease is pwede siya sa genetic, immune system issues, and environmental triggers like stress or infections. So next, symptoms. Isa daw sa symptoms nito ay ang red raised patch of skin that cover with silver scale. Kung nakita nyo kanina yung picture, ganun yung itsura niya. Madalas itong nakikita sa scalp, sa elbow, knees, and lower back. Pero pwede rin siyang makita anywhere sa katawan natin, even sa nails. At ang ibang tao ay nakakaranas sila ng joint pain or swelling na tinatawag na psoriasis arthritis. So next, the treatment. The treatment for psoriasis ay nagre-reduce ng inflammation, slow down skin cells turnover, and relieve symptoms. Meron din pwedeng i-apply na treatment like corticosteroid, vitamin B analysis, and retinoids. Let's move to prevention. Pwede siya ma-prevent through lifestyle and avoid stress, smoking, heavy alcohol consumptions, before and after result. Ang before nito ay may mga red patches of skin that cover with silvery scales at pananakit ng joint or nails. Sa after naman is when the redness, scaling, and discomfort is reduced. At kailangan din ito ng ongoing treatment para talagang mawala na siya at gumaling na. Possible microbes in disease. Psoriasis isn't caused by bacteria or viruses. It is an infection like strep throat can make it worse. Ang psoriasis daw ay hindi cause ng bacteria, kaya walang possible microbes na nandoon sa disease. So, yun lang po, and next presenter na, Miss Melody Garcia.
So, dumako naman tayo sa rosacea disease. So, ano nga ba ang rosacea disease? Rosacea is a common inflammatory skin condition that causes redness on your face or other parts of your body, including your eyes. There are a different type of the condition can cause pimples and swelling on your skin. This is a lifelong condition without a cure. Background of the disease. Rosacea is a common condition characterized by symptoms of facial flushing and a spectrum of clinical signs, including erythema, telangiectasia, coarseness of skin, and an inflammatory papulopustular eruption resembling acne. So this is rosacea disease is a chronic condition na nagkakos ng redness, swelling, at small bumps sa ating mukha. It typically affects the cheeks, nose, hairline, and chin. Recent pathogen and rosacea disease. Researchers have to identify several microbes potential contributors to the development of rosacea. These are Demox folliculorum, Staphylococcus epidermidis, Bacillus oleronius, and Cutibacterium acne. Demox folliculorum is a common species of mites that lives on the skin and has been associated with the development of rosacea, particularly in severe cases. And Staphylococcus epidermidis ay isang uri ng bakterya na kadalasang matatagpuan sa balat at isang pinaghihinalaang sanhi ng rosacea. Bacillus oleronius, a type of bacteria na nalig sa rosacea dahil sa posibleng papel nito sa paglala ng kondisyon ng balat and inciting inflammatory responses in some people. Cutibacterium acne, isang uri ng bakterya na kadalasang matatagpuan sa balat at naiuugnay din ito sa rosacea. Reported cases of rosacea disease. Researchers have to attempt to determine the global prevalence of the widespread disorder for the first time. And the answer is estimated to be 415 million according to a new study. Transmission of rosacea disease. Rosacea is not considered to be a contagious disease, so it doesn't spread from person to person through direct contact. It can be inherited, and the tendency for developing rosacea does seem to be genetically transmitted in some cases. This combination of factor means that while a person does not simply catch rosacea from some they've been in contact with, they may have inherited a genetic predisposition towards developing it. Symptoms of rosacea disease. The symptoms of rosacea include facial redness, rash, visible blood vessels, skin thickening, and eye irritation. Facial redness kadalasan sa pisngi, ilong, at minsan sa noo o baba. Ang rash naman ay maaaring mula sa maliliit na bumps o pustules to a more widespread inflamed appearance. Visible blood vessel, particularly in the nose and cheeks. Skin thickening, giving the skin more rough or bumpy texture. Eye irritation, which can manifest as irritated or watery, itching, tightness, or burning. Prevention of rosacea disease. Always use caution when going outdoors and exposing your skin to the sun UV ray. Sunlight can trigger symptoms of rosacea, and sun damage can make it difficult for your skin to heal after a flare. Wear sunscreen daily and reapply sunscreen often throughout the day. You can also wear UV protective clothing and accessories to cover your skin from the sunlight. Exposing your skin to sun's UV ray can increase redness, heat, swelling, and a feeling of tightness. Wearing sunscreen ay makakatulong na mabawasan ang pinsalang dulot ng sinag ng araw and to prevent flare-ups of symptoms. Before and after result of rosacea disease. Before treatment, they will observe the patient's skin for any symptoms of rosacea, such as redness, swelling, broken blood vessel, and bumps. After treatment, the patient may experience an improvement in symptoms and reduce redness, swelling, and burning or stinging sensation. Availability of vaccine. There is no vaccine available for the treatment of rosacea disease. Vaccines are usually used for the prevention of infectious disease and do not treat or cure non-infectious conditions such as rosacea. Possible microbes and categories. Possible microbes in rosacea disease can include both bacteria and mites. Demox mites is very small parasitic mites that lives in hair follicles of the skin. Tumako naman tayo sa skin cancer. Skin cancer happens when something changes how your skin cells grow, like exposure to ultraviolet light. Symptoms include new bumps or patches on your skin, or change in the size, shape, or color of the skin growth. Most skin cancer is treatable if it's caught early. Background of the skin cancer. Skin cancer is a type of cancer that affects the outer layer of our skin, known as the epidermis. It is typically caused by damage to the DNA of our skin cells due to the exposure of ultraviolet radiation from the sun or other sources. This damage causes the cells to transform into cancerous cells na patuloy na lumalaki at dumarami. The most common type of skin cancer is a melanoma, which is caused by damage to the melanocytes. Skin cancer na possible sa paggawa ng melanin. Present pathogen in skin cancer. The most common pathogen associated with skin cancer include both bacteria and viruses. Bacteria and viruses can both cause skin infection na maaaring humantong sa pagdevelop ng skin cancer. Infection caused by bacteria or viruses ay itinuturing na isang potensyal na kadahilanan sa pag-unlad nito. Reported cases in skin cancer. The number of reported cases of skin cancer varies significantly across the jurisdiction and over time. The World Health Organization or WHO estimated that in 2020, there were 1,378,886 new cases of non-melanoma skin cancer worldwide and 953,170 new cases of melanoma. When the WHO estimated the number of reported cases in 2020, they gathered data from multiple healthcare institutions and hospitals across the globe, allowing them to get the more accurate view or the entire picture. Transmission of skin cancer. Skin cancer is typically not considered to be a contagious disease. it doesn't spread from person to person through direct contact, meaning that it doesn't spread from person to person through direct physical contact. Ito ay dahil ang mga cancer cells mismo ay hindi nakakahawa at ang sakit ay hindi mailipat sa pamamagitan ng direct contact. However, there are some rare cases where skin cancer cells are being found to be transmissible, such as the cause of basal cell carcinoma. Cause of skin cancer. Skin cancer occurs when error in the DNA of skin cells. The mutation causes the cells to grow out of control and form a mass of cancer cells. The mutation leads to a loss of normal controls, which allows the cells to multiply rapidly and out of control. The cells that make up of cancerous growth continue to expand and the masses of cells form a tumor. Symptoms of skin cancer. Skin cancer symptoms include a new mole, a pearly or waxy bump on your skin, ears and neck, a flat pink, red or brown colored patches or bump. All symptoms that could indicate a possible case of skin cancer. A new mole. This is a dark colored mole or dots that appears on your body, usually on the face, neck, arms, or back. A pearl or waxy bump. This is a small, smooth looking bump with a shiny appearance similar to pearl. Diagnosis of skin cancer. Skin cancer can be diagnosed based on various factors, including medical history, physical examination, and sometimes additional tests like biopsy. This helps to improve a better understanding of your individual risk factor and potential causes for the current symptom. Prevention of skin cancer. In most cases, skin cancer can be prevented. The best way to protect yourself is to avoid too much sunlight and sunburns. UV ray from the sun damage your skin and over time, this may leads to skin cancer because all skin cancer is linked to accumulated sun exposure. The best way to prevent is to reduce the amount of UV exposure. Before and after result of skin cancer. Before treatment of skin cancer, the doctor will typically review the medical history and perform a physical examination to assess the extent and severity of the condition. After treatment, the skin cancer patient may notice a improvement in their symptoms and appearance. Availability of vaccine in skin cancer. Currently, there is no available vaccination for the prevention of skin cancer. The majority of skin cancer cases are caused by accumulated UV exposure, but we do not have a vaccine that can protect against or block the UV ray kung paano gumagana ang isang traditional vaccine. Possible microbes in skin cancer. Possible microbe in skin cancer can include both bacteria and viruses. Bacteria and viruses ay maaaring mag-contribute directly sa mga kondisyon, habang ang ilang mga viral infection ay maaaring madamage ang skin immune system and it increase a person's risk for developing skin cancer.
So after po ng skin cancer, let's proceed to a skin condition which is called eczema. Eczema is a condition that causes your skin to become dry, itchy, and bumpy, like the picture po. This condition weakens your skin's barrier function, which is responsible for helping your skin retain moisture and protecting your body from outside elements. So, ang eczema po is pinapahina po yung barrier ng skin natin, which is yun po yung nagpapatibay ng skin natin, yun din po yung nagproprotekta ng skin natin from outside elements. Now, let's talk about the background of the disease. Eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, is a common skin condition that causes dry, red, and itchy skin. Katulad po ng nasa picture, it looks dry. And may mga maliliit siyang na parang halatang galing sa pagkakakamot. It is believed to be caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. So, hindi po nakukuha ang eczema from person to person. Nakukuha po siya in your genes po and surroundings po natin. Eczema often appears in early childhood and can persist into adulthood, although it can also develop for the first time in adulthood. So, nag-a-appear ang eczema habang bata pa lang po tayo or baby, ganyan. Pero, nade-develop rin po ang eczema kahit na matanda na rin po tayo. Pathogen of eczema disease. Eczema is not caused by a pathogen like a virus or bacterium. Instead, it is a chronic inflammatory skin condition that is believed to result from a combination of genetic, environmental, and immunological factors. Chronic inflammation is also referred to as slow, long-term inflammation lasting several months to years. Ibig sabihin, mabagal at matagal na pamamaga. Hindi siya nakakahawa from person to person pero ito ay nagiging resulta ng combination of genetic, which means namamana ito. Environmental, ibig sabihin pwede rin tayong magka-eczema dahil sa surroundings natin na nakakapagpa-trigger ng eczema. And immunological factors ay ang active substances na nakaka-apekto or nagpe-play ng role sa pag-function ng immune system natin. What are the reported cases of eczema? Eczema is a skin condition that affects people of all ages, but it's most often seen in infants and children. According to the World Health Organization, eczema affects between 15% and 20% of children and up to 3% of adults worldwide. So, makikita po dito na mas nagkakaroon ng eczema ang mga bata kaysa sa mga matatanda. While eczema can occur at any age, it most commonly appears in infancy. Kaya nga po nang sabi ko kanina, with about 60% of cases developing within the first year of life and 90% by the age of 5. Many children outgrow eczema by adolescence, although some may continue to experience symptoms into adulthood. Now let's talk about symptoms and diagnosis of eczema disease. The first one is dry, sensitive skin. Severe itching, especially at night. Kinakati daw po masyado pag gabi yung disease na yon or yung mga sugat-sugat. Red or brownish-gray patches on the skin. Small raised bumps that may leak fluid and crust over when scratched. Thick and crack and or scaly skin. Raw, sensitive skin from scratching. And skin inflammation or swelling, which is pamamaga. Now let's proceed naman to the treatment and prevention of eczema disease. Treatment and prevention strategies for eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, focus on reducing inflammation, relieving itching, and preventing flare-ups. Here are some key approaches. The first one is moisturize regularly. Yan, gumamit po tayo ng product na sa tingin natin is hindi naman makakapagpa-trigger sa disease na yon sa skin natin para ma-moisturize yung skin natin. Avoid triggers, yun nga. Iwasan po natin yung kahit anong makakapag-trigger sa atin na lotion, sabon man yan, or kahit anong maipapahid sa skin natin. Use mild cleansers. Next one, topical treatments. And then, antihistamines, wet wrap therapy. Avoid scratching. Yan, iwasan po natin kamut-kamutin yung skin natin para hindi rin po mamaga and hindi rin po magkaroon ng parang butil-butil. Stress management. Yan, iwasan din po nating ma-stress kasi isa din po yun sa nakakapagpa-trigger ng skin disease natin and isa din po yun sa nakakapagpalala ng eczema. Dietary considerations. And lastly, consult a dermatologist. Yan. Kailangan din po nating magpa-consult bago tayo gumamit ng kung ano-anong pinapahid natin para sigurado and hindi po lumala yung sakit. Before and after result of eczema disease. And before and after results of eczema treatment can vary wildly depending on the severity of the condition, the effectiveness of the treatment, and the individual factors. Here's a general overview of what you might expect. Before treatment, ang skin po natin is dry, red, itchy skin, rash-like appearance, skin inflammation or swelling, cracked, scaly skin, severe itching, especially at night, raw, sensitive skin from scratching. Yan. Before treatment po is malala po yung ng skin natin, which is halatang-halata po yung eczema disease, which is yung medyo dry and red siya. And halata mong kinamot-kamot, ganyan. After treatment, reduce redness and inflammation, improve skin hydration and less dryness, reduce itching and discomfort, smoother, more even skin texture, fewer or less severe flare-ups. Dito po, nabawasan po yung pagka-red and parang hindi naman po siya totally gagaling agad. So, unti-unti po siyang gagaling. And yung pamamaga is unti-unti ding mawawala. Availability of vaccine for eczema disease. So, base po sa mga na-search ko, wala pong available na vaccine for eczema. So, there is currently no vaccine available specifically for eczema. Eczema is a complex condition with underlying genetic and environmental factors, and its treatment typically involves managing symptoms and preventing flare-ups through lifestyle changes, skincare, and sometimes medication. So, wala po siyang vaccine para gumaling. So, ang makakatulong lang po sa atin is ma-prevent yung paglala ng pamamaga, paglala ng pagka-dry and itchy na texture ng skin natin. The next one is possible microbes in categories include eczema disease. Eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, is not caused by a specific microbe like a bacteria or virus. Instead, it is believed to result from a combination of genetic and environmental and immunological factors, which is ilang beses ko na rin pong nababanggit kanina pa. However, people with eczema may be more susceptible to skin infections, including those caused by certain microbes. So, dito po, kasama po dito is yung Staphylococcus aureus, a type of bacteria that can colonize the skin and lead to infections. Isa pa dito ang Malassezia, a species of fungi that have been associated with exacerbating eczema symptoms in some individuals. And lastly, herpes simplex virus, which can lead to eczema herpeticum, a rare but serious complication of eczema characterized by widespread skin infection. Ngayong tapos na tayo sa eczema disease, let's proceed now to athlete's foot. Athlete's foot is a common fungal infection caused by a fungus. Athlete's foot causes itching, stinging, burning rash on the skin on one or both of your feet. Athlete's foot is most common between your toes, but it can also affect the tops of your feet, the soles of your feet, and your heels. Your skin may become scaly and crack or develop blisters. Ang athlete's foot ay most commonly sa mga daliri ng paa natin. Pwede rin siyang makaapekto sa tuktok ng mga paa natin, talampakan, and yung takong natin. So what is the background of athlete's foot? Athlete's foot, also known as a tinea pedis, is a common fungal infection that affects the skin on the feet. It can cause itching, pangangate, stinging, parang masakit, nakakatusok siya, and burning between the toes or on the soles of the feet. So, parang ang init niya sa pakiramdam. Pathogen of athlete's foot disease. Athlete's foot disease is primarily caused by a group of fungi known as dermatophytes. The most common fungi responsible for athlete's foot include Trichophyton rubrum, which is the most common cause of athlete's foot. It can also cause other fungal infections of the skin and nails. So, hindi lang dito sa athlete's foot nakakapag-cause ng yung Trichophyton rubrum. The next one is Trichophyton mentagrophytes, another common cause of athlete's foot. This fungus can also infect the skin, hair, and nails, aside from feet. And lastly, Epidermophyton flocosum. Although less common, this fungus can also cause athlete's foot and other skin infections. What are the reported cases of athlete's foot disease? Athlete's foot is a very common fungal infection, and reported cases vary widely depending on factors such as location, population density, and access to healthcare. So, ang athlete's foot po is pwede ka pong magkaroon ng athlete's foot. Depende rin po sa location mo, if yung location mo is masyadong maano sa pollution or hindi na aalagaan ng mabuti yung katawan mo. In the United States, for example, it's estimated that around 15 to 25% of people are affected by athlete's foot at any given time. So, bata ka man po or matanda, pwede kang magkaroon ng athlete's foot dahil na rin po kasi nakadepende po siya sa surroundings nyo. Transmission of athlete's foot disease. So, paano nga ba po nagkakaroon ng athlete's foot ang isang tao? Nahahawa ba? Nakakahawa ba? Or kusa siyang nakukuha nang hindi mo namamalayan dahil na rin sa dumi ng paligid mo. So, athlete's foot is primarily transmitted through direct or indirect contact with an infected person or contaminated surface. So, ang transmission ng athlete's foot disease is pwede siyang direct or indirect contact with an infected person. So, let's talk about the causes of athlete's foot disease. Bakit nga ba nagkakaroon tayo ng athlete's foot disease or paano tayo nagkakaroon ng athlete's foot disease? So, athlete's foot is caused by a group of fungi called dermatophytes. Several factors can increase the risk of developing athlete's foot, including warm, humid environments, poor foot hygiene. So, pag hindi mo po naalagaan ng mabuti yung paa mo, ganyan, or hindi mo nalilinisan ng maayos, ganyan, magkakaroon ka rin ng athlete's foot disease. Wearing tight or closed-toe shoes. So, pag sobrang sikip ng sinusuot mong sapatos or sobrang sikip ng suot mong sapatos, tsinelas, ganyan, it can cause you athlete's foot disease. Other one, walking barefoot in public areas. So, nakakakos din po siya ng athlete's foot disease dahil na rin po sa dumi ng nilalakaran mo, di mo sure kung anong dumi yung andyan, ano yung next one, weaken immune system. So, pag mahina rin po yung immune system nyo, madali rin po kayong magkaroon ng athlete's foot disease. And lastly, sharing personal items. So, yan. Cause din po yan ng athlete's foot disease, yung nanghihiram ng gamit sa ibang tao na hindi mo alam, malay mo meron din pala siyang disease na ganon. Kaya mag-ingat po tayo. So, what are the symptoms and diagnosis of athlete's foot disease? So, athlete's foot can cause a variety of symptoms including itching. The most common symptoms of athlete's foot is itching, which can be mild to severe. So, yun po is pangangate ng paa natin. Next one is burning or stinging, which is sobrang warm ng feeling sa paa. The affected skin may also feel like it's burning or stinging, especially between the toes or on the soles of the feet. Yun nga po. Stinging is yung parang nakakatusok na yung feeling. Ganon. Dagdag pa ng parang sinusunog. Ganon. Sinusunog yung skin mo sa paa. The next one is redness and inflammation. The skin affected by athlete's foot may appear red, swollen, and inflamed. Namamaga din. Katulad ng eczema kanina sa skin disease. Next one is blistering. In some cases, athlete's foot can cause the skin to blister and crack, leading to pain and discomfort. Next one is peeling or flaking skin. The skin affected by athlete's foot may peel or flake, especially around the edges. So, nagbabalat-balat din po siya, which is yun po yung masakit talaga. Odor. Athlete's foot can sometimes cause a strong odor, particularly if the infected is severe or if there is a secondary bacterial infection. So, nagkakaamoy din po siya. Now, let's proceed to the treatment and prevention of athlete's foot disease. Treatment of athlete's foot typically involves antifungal medications, which can be applied topically or taken orally depending on the severity of the infection. Some common treatments include over-the-counter antifungal creams, which is the safe and effective medication for fungal infection. Next one is prescription strength antifungal medications. Third one is antifungal powders or sprays. So, mahilig na rin naman po tayong bumili online, ganyan. E di tignan na rin po natin or make sure na po natin na safe safe yung powder or spray na gagamitin natin. Next one is good foot hygiene. Yan. Pumili po tayo ng mas maayos or sa tingin po natin is mas worth it na gamitin para po sa hygiene natin para po hindi ma-trigger or magkaroon ng athlete's foot condition. The next one, avoiding tight or closed-toe shoes. So, iwasan po natin gumamit ng mga sapatos na sobrang masikip. Next one, using antifungal foot powders or spray. 7. Changing socks and shoes regularly. So, hindi po pwedeng ulit-ulitin palagi yung socks lalo na kung hindi pa nalalabhan, ganyan. So, kailangan po nating magpalit ng socks or linisin yung shoes natin regularly para po iwas din po sa infections. Lastly, avoiding sharing personal items. So, iwasan po nating mag-share ng items or iwasan po nating humiram ng gamit sa ibang tao. What are the before and after results of athlete's foot disease? So, before the treatment of athlete's foot, you may experience symptoms such as itching, burning redness, and cracking of the skin, especially between the toes or the soles of the feet. The affected skin may also be inflamed, blistered, and may peel or flake. So, namumula po siya or nagka-crack po yung skin natin and nagbabalat yung skin natin to the point na masakit na po siya. So, after treatment, the symptoms of athlete's foot should improve. The itching, burning, and redness should gradually subside and the skin should start to heal. With proper treatment and care, the affected skin should return to its normal appearance and you should no longer experience discomfort or pain. Availability of vaccine for athlete's foot disease. There is currently no vaccine available for athlete's foot. The best way to prevent athlete's foot is to practice good foot hygiene, such as keeping your feet clean and dry, wearing clean socks and shoes, and avoiding walking barefoot in public areas where the fungus may be present. So even though wala pong vaccine available for athlete's foot, meron naman pong treatment na mape-prevent natin yung skin natin or yung feet natin para magkaroon ng athlete's foot. Possible microbes in categories includes athlete's foot disease. Microbes that can cause athlete's foot belong to the group of fungi known as dermatophytes. The most common fungi responsible for athlete's foot include Trichophyton rubrum, Trichophyton mentagrophytes, and Epidermophyton floccosum, which is nasabi ko na po kanina and na-discuss ko na rin po. These fungi thrive in warm, moist environments and can infect the skin of the feet, leading to the characteristic symptoms of athlete's foot. So mag-ingat-ingat po tayo and palagi po nating ingatan na yung nilalakaran natin and huwag po tayong maglakad ng nakapaa lang ng walang sapatos, ng walang protection ng paa natin. Yun lang po. Thank you.
So, our topic for today is the cataracts. Cataracts are cloudy areas that form on the lens of your eye. Your lens is a clear, flexible structure made mostly of proteins. It's what we call crystallines. As you get older, the proteins in your lens break down, forming cloudy patches that affect your vision. So, the background of cataracts are common eye condition characterized by the clouding of the lens in the eye, leading to blurred vision and visual impairments. Cataracts often develop slowly and can affect one or both eyes. The pathogen is not caused such as bacteria or viruses. They are primarily age-related or can result from factors like UV exposure, diabetes, smoking, and certain medications. So, nakukuha ito sa pagninigarilyo, sa masyadong pagbabad sa gadgets. So, sa reported cases ng cataracts are prevalent globally, especially among the elderly population. So, nakukuha ito kapag tumatanda na. It is one of the leading causes of vision impairment and blindness worldwide. The transmission of cataracts are not infectious and cannot be transmitted from person to person, but they develop primarily due to aging and other risk factors. So, the causes of cataracts are age-related changes in the lens, prolonged exposure to UV radiation, pagbabad sa cellphone, sa gadgets, diabetes, smoking, certain medications, and others. So, the availability of vaccine, there is currently no vaccine available for cataracts. So, since they are not caused by infectious agents, management involves surgical and and preventive measures to protect eye health. Possible microbes and categories. While cataracts are not caused by microbes, it is essential to consider the role of eye infections caused by bacteria or viruses and exacerbating eye conditions. So, in glaucoma is a general term used to describe a group of eye disorders that damage your optic nerve. It is the most common form of optic nerve damage leading to vision loss. So, kagaya ng cataracts, vision loss din ang glaucoma. Glaucoma is characterized by fluid and pressure in your eye building up and damaging your optic nerve. So the background of glaucoma is a group of eye conditions that damage the optic nerve, often due to increased pressure in the eye. It is a leading cause of blindness and vision impairment worldwide, affecting individuals of all ages, particularly the elderly. So, kung sa cataracts ay elderly, ganun din ang glaucoma. So, sa pathogen naman, glaucoma is not caused by pathogens like bacteria or viruses, kagaya nung sa cataracts. It is primarily associated with increased intraocular pressure and other risk factors such as genetics, age, and underlying health conditions. So, sa genetics, kung yung family mo is yung background niya is may sakit siya na glaucoma, may posibilidad na makukuha mo rin yun. Sa reported cases, glaucoma is prevalent eye condition globally, affecting millions of people. It is often asymptomatic in the early stages, leading to delayed diagnosis and potential vision loss. So, like cataracts, glaucoma is vision loss then. So, sa transmission naman, glaucoma is not infectious and cannot be transmitted from person to person, like cataracts. But, it develops due to internal factors within the eye, including pressure buildup and optic nerve damage. So, ang causes nito ay increased intraocular pressure, family history of glaucoma, age-related changes in the eye. So, sa cataracts is sa paninigarilyo, kung may diabetes ka. Sa glaucoma naman, ang causes niya is family history of glaucoma, increased intraocular pressure. Sa genetics nga. So, ang symptoms and diagnosis of glaucoma is vision loss, especially peripheral vision, eye pain, headaches, and around lights, nausea and vomiting, diagnosis through comprehensive eye exams, visual field test, tonometry or eye pressure measurement, and optic nerve evaluation. So, wag nyo walang bahala kung nakakaramdam kayo ng eye pain, headaches, and kung nagbe-blurred na yung vision nyo. Kasi, hindi nyo alam, may nabubuo na palang sakit dyan sa mata nyo. So, ang treatment and prevention ng glaucoma ay eye drops, medications, laser therapy or surgery to reduce intraocular pressure and slow down vision loss. Ang prevention naman, regular eye check-ups, early detection, maintaining healthy lifestyle, and managing risk factors like high blood pressure and diabetes. So, kagaya ko dati, pumutok yung ugat sa mata ko. So, nag-red siya hanggang sa nag-spread yung dugo. Pero thank God kasi hindi naapektuhan yung black na mata ko. Kasi kapag naapektuhan yun, siguro bulag na ako ngayon. So, before and after result, before treatment, gradual vision loss, potential blindness, and irreversibility damage. So, the availability of vaccine is, there is currently no vaccine available for glaucoma, like cataracts. Management focuses on early detection, regular monitoring, and appropriate treatment to prevent vision loss and preserve eye health. So, lagi po natin tandaan na alagaan po natin ang ating mga mata. So, while glaucoma is not caused by microbes, it is essential to consider the role of eye infections caused by bacteria or viruses in exacerbating eye condition. So, di ba kapag nalalagyan ng buhangin or alikabok yung mata natin, nag-i-itchy siya. So, kailangan po nating alagaan ang ating mga mata para hindi po tayo mabulag. Untreated eye infections can lead to inflammation or injury. potential impacting the development or progression of glaucoma. Regular eye hygiene and prompt treatment of eye infections are crucial for maintaining eye health and preventing complications. So, para maiwasan po natin ang mga sakit na ito, dapat po nating alagaan ang ating mga mata. Kapag pagod na yung mata natin, ay pahinga natin. Hindi naman yan robot para magtrabaho ng magtrabaho. So, ang next reporter po ay, i-report po niya ang eye cancer.
So thank you, Ma'am Princess Kiros. So now let's proceed to eye cancer. So eye cancer, also known as ocular cancer, it refers to the development of abnormal cells within the eye or its surrounding structures. So there are several types of eye cancer. It's depending on the specific part of the eye affected and the type of cells involved. So now let's begin into the pathogens that presents on the disease. So eye cancer is typically not caused by a pathogens, but rather by genetic mutation or exposure to certain environment factors like ultraviolet radiation. So eye cancer is not a pathogens disease. Hindi siya cause ng pathogenic diseases. So, ito ay nakukuha natin into the genetic mutation and somewhat into the ultraviolet radiation pag na-expose tayo doon or sa other chemical na pwedeng makaapekto sa pagkakaroon natin ng eye cancer. So, sa symptoms is eye cancer may include vision changes such as blurred or loss of vision. Floaters, pwede rin dito. So, yung floaters is the spots or squiggles in the floating across your field of a vision. So, kung makikita nyo dun sa picture kanina, yung parang may lumalabas na uod, yun yung squiggles na tinatawag. So, para siyang may spot siya na dun lumalabas yung squiggle. So, ganun yun ang symptoms ng isang eye cancer. Pwede rin dito yung growing dark spot on their iris. So, nagda-dark talaga yung iris natin, literal. So, eye pain, pwede din, redness, nagiging red yung mata natin, and yung swelling din. So, minsan na yung pagiging red ng mata natin is hindi lang to causes ng isang parang sore eyes, ganun. Maybe may ibang factors na, gaya nga ng symptoms na sinasabi ko ngayon. So, let's now proceed on the diagnosis na part naman. So, eye cancer typically involves a comprehensive eye examination, including imaging tests such as ultrasound, MRI, or CT scans, and sometimes a biopsy to confirm the presence of cancer cells. So, ginagamit yung biopsies para nga makita or ma-confirm natin kung meron ba talagang cancer cells sa ating mga mata. And yung iba naman, ginagamit yung ultrasound para makita at MRI para makita yung kung may cancer cells ba sa mata natin na nagko-cause ng eye cancer natin. So, treatment, let's begin from the treatment. So, treatment is options for eye cancer. Depend on the type, stage, and disease, but may include surgery, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, or targeted therapy. So, mga yan ang pwede nating gawing treatment sa eye cancer. Pwede yung talaga yung surgery. Isa-surgery talaga yung mata natin. Radiotherapy, pwede rin yun. Chemotherapy, targeted therapy. So now let's proceed to the other disease of eye. So we have here the dry eye syndrome. So dry eye syndrome, also known as keratoconjunctivitis sicca, is a common condition that occurs when your tears are unable to provide adequate lubrication for your eyes. Tears are essential for maintaining the health and comfort of the eyes, providing moisture, nourishment, and protection against infections. So, yung pag-iyak natin is nakakatulong para mabawasan ang dry eye syndrome or ma-prevent ang dry eye syndrome. Kasi ang pag-iyak natin or ang tears natin is nagmi-maintain ito ng health comfort sa mata natin na nakakapag-provide ng moisture, nourishment, and somewhat nagiging protection din siya for us para malabanan ang infection na pwedeng ma-occurs natin sa mata. So now let's begin naman into the background of the disease. So dry eye syndrome or dry eyes is common condition that occurs when the eye do not produce enough tears or when tears evaporate too quickly. This can lead discomfort, irritation, and vision problems. So maraming pwedeng mangyari kapag hindi na tayo umiiyak. Kaya kailangan pa rin natin ng pag-iyak para nga malubricate yung mata natin at hindi ito matuyo para hindi tayo magkaroon ng dry eye syndrome. So, pathogens that presence on the disease is typically not caused by a pathogens din. Gaya ng eye cancer kanina, hindi sila pathogen disease, but rather than by factors such as aging, hormonal changes, certain medication, environmental condition, and underlying health condition. So nakapaloob dito na nakukuha natin to sa aging, sa pagtanda natin. Hormonal changes din siya, certain medication, and environmental condition. Gaya kanina, ganun din. Pwede rin makuha to sa ultraviolet radiation. So, sa underlying health condition naman, may explain ko mamaya dito sa video na to kung bakit nagko-cause ang underlying health condition natin sa pag-lead towards sa pag-dry ng ating mga mata. So, on the reported cases, dry eye syndrome is whispered affecting millions of people worldwide. Hindi katulad nung eye cancer kanina na madalang lang to, not common. Ito namang dry eye syndrome is very common na nakakaapekto sa milyong-milyong tao sa buong mundo. Exact reported cases may vary depending on geographic location and diagnosis criteria. So, ang nakakadepende rin daw sa geography ng isang bansa kung gaano kadami ang nagkakaroon ng dry eye syndrome. Pero siguro sa pagkakaalam ko, sa pagkakaintindi ko, na-occurs to sa mga tuyong bansa tulad lamang ng mga Middle East country, mga ganon, kasi mainit sa kanila and somewhat hindi nalulubricate siguro yung mga mata nila. So, sa transmission naman, dry eye syndrome is not contagious and cannot be transmitted from person to person. Katulad din ng eye cancer, hindi siya transmitted disease kasi hindi naman siya cause ng pathogens. So, next one is the causes of the disease. So, sa cause of the disease naman tayo. So, cause of dry eye syndromes include aging, hormonal changes such as menopause. So, kapag nag-menopause ka na, syempre sa babae lang yun. So, siguro mas predominant ang dry eye sa babae kasi nga meron certain na sa kanila lang nakikita ang cause ng disease na ito, which is yung menopause. So, certain medication, pwede dito yung antihistamines or decongestants. Environmental factors such as dry and windy climates. So, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, siguro sa mga bansang matuyo and mahangin lamang ang nagkakaroon ng mga gantong sakit. So, prolonged screen time and underlying health condition. So, sa prolonged screen time, siguro dun sa ultraviolet radiation nga na sinasabi ko kanina, kapag too much exposure sa ultraviolet radiation, natutuyo yung mata natin and parang hindi siya nagiging okay, somewhat na hindi na nalulubricate ng pag-iyak natin yung mata natin. So, sa underlying health condition naman, meron dito, sabi ko kanina, matatakal natin. Nandito yung autoimmune disease or diabetes. So, kapag may diabetes ka, pwedeng magkaroon ka rin ng gantong sakit, dry eyes. Mako naman tayo sa symptoms. So, dry eye syndrome may include stinging or burning sensation in the eyes, redness, irritation, sensitivity to the light, blurred vision, difficult of wearing contact lenses, and feeling of griffiness of foreign body sensation in the eyes. So, yung symptoms, nakakaramdam daw tayo ng iritasyon sa mata natin. Para stinging and burning sensation naman sa mata natin. Yung parang ang init, parang susunog yung mata natin, ganoon. So, pwede yung redness, yung irritation, sensitivity to the light kasi masakit na yung mata natin, hindi siya nalulubricate, hindi siya nababasa. So, blurry vision din, pwede rin. Nagiging blurred din yung vision natin kapag may ganito tayo. Difficulty wearing contact lenses. Oo, masakit or mahirap maglagay ng contact lenses kapag meron kang dry eye syndrome. Kasi hindi na giging maganda ang paglagay mo ng contact lenses kapag yung mata mo is sobrang dry kasi hindi pwedeng madikit or hindi pwedeng mailagay ang contact lens dito. So, diagnosis naman na part, diagnosis of dry eye syndromes typically involves a comprehensive eye examination, including evaluation of the symptoms, assessment of tear production and quality, and sometimes additional tests such as a tear osmolarity measurements or ocular surface staining. So marami dito sa diagnosis na pwedeng gawin para ma-prevent natin yung or discover natin na may dry eye syndrome tayo. So, the treatment is option for a dry eyes. Ito yung mga option na may include artificial tears or lubricating eye drops, prescription medication such as anti-inflammatory eye drops or cyclosporine, tear duct plugs to conserve tears, lifestyle changes such as using a humidifier or taking regular breaks from screen time, and in severe cases, produce such as punctual cautery of surgery. So, sa treatment, maraming iba't ibang treatment na pwede. Na nakakasaad naman sa PowerPoint namin na ganong mga treatment ang pwede nating gawin or pwede nating i-treat sa ating dry eye syndrome. So, now, let's proceed into the prevention. So, preventive measures for dry eyes may include avoiding environmental triggers such as dry and windy condition. Gaya nung kanina, umiwas tayo sa maiinit at mahanging lugar na makakapag-trigger ng ating mata. Ganun. So, taking regular break screen time, using lubrication eye drops as needed, staying hydrated, and managing underlying health condition may contribute to the dry eye symptoms. So, wag din tayong mayat maya or wag din tayong parang babad sa pagtutok sa ating mga telepono or other gadgets para hindi ma-expose sa too much ultraviolet radiation ng ating mga mata. So, meron tayong before and after results dito. So, sa treatment for dry eyes, aim to alleviate symptoms and improve eye comfort and vision quality. With appropriate management, many individuals experience relief from dry eye symptoms and improve quality life. So, availability ng vaccine naman, there is no currently vaccine available sa prevention ng dry eyes natin. So, as soon as possible, sa treatment lang talaga tayo or sa prevention tayo magbabase. So, kailangan nating sumunod or kailangan nating i-prevent at wag gawin yung mga preventive cautions or mga bawal gawin para hindi tayo magkaroon ng dry eyes. So, possible microbes in categories dito sa dry eyes is syndrome is not caused by a microbes. Hindi siya nagko-cause ng microbes kasi hindi naman siya pathogenic nga. but rather than a factor siya such as a tear production imbalance, tear film instability, or ocular surface inflammation. So, hindi siya cause ng microbes. Somewhat talaga siya yung imbalance siya sa katawan natin na hindi nakaka-produce ng tear. So, ayun lamang for my report, and I am General Pasis. Thank you for listening, and let's now proceed into the next presenter, which is Waimir Mendoza. Yun lamang po. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wonderful discussion. Now, let's proceed to our next discussion. So, let's talk about diabetic retinopathy. So, diabetic retinopathy is an eye disease that affects the retina. So, as we can see here in the picture, we have two eyes that is normal and the eye that affects diabetic retinopathy. So, as we can see in the picture, there's a blood leakage in the blood vessels. So, anyone with diabetes can develop this condition without treatment. So, diabetes-related retinopathy can lead to a vision loss or blindness. But with a proper healthcare, we can prevent vision loss or it can reduce the risk progression of this disease. Now, let's proceed to the background of the disease. So, as I said earlier, diabetic retinopathy is associated in diabetes. So, this disease occurs when it's prolonged exposure in high blood sugar levels that causing damages in blood vessels in the retina. And its progression can cause vision impairment and eventual blindness. So, as we can see in the picture in the bottom, we have the normal retina and the diabetic retina. So, as we can see, the diabetic retina is more darkish since it's exposed in high blood sugar levels na that can cause damages in the blood vessels. So, as we can see here, na medyo parang may blood leakage. And let's proceed to the present pathogen in the disease. So, unlike in any diseases, this one is not associated in any infectious pathogen like bacteria and viruses, since diabetic retinopathy is a result of diabetes, which is, as I said earlier, it's prolonged exposure in high blood sugar levels that cause damages in the blood vessels in retina. Now, let's proceed to the reported cases. The reported cases of diabetic retinopathy in the Philippines were very significant. However, due to the healthcare access, diagnosis rates, reporting system across different regions, it's very hard to determine the exact number of these cases in the Philippines. Now, let's continue to the transmission. So, as we all know, diabetic retinopathy is not associated in any infectious pathogens such as bacteria and viruses. However, shared risk factors like genetics and lifestyle can affect too many like among families. Now, let's continue to the cause of the disease. So, the primary cause of the diabetic retinopathy is prolonged exposure to high blood sugar levels, which damages the blood vessels in our retina. Additionally, factors such as high blood pressure, abnormal blood lipid levels can rapidly affecting the retina. Now, let's talk about the symptoms. In early stages of diabetic retinopathy, it may not cause any noticeable symptoms. However, as the disease progresses, the symptoms may start noticeable like blurry or distorted vision, floaters, and dark spot in the visual fields, and lastly, difficulty seeing at night. Now, what is the diagnosis of these symptoms? So, the diagnosis typically involves comprehensive eye examination, including visual acuity test, dilated eye exams, and imaging tests like optical coherence tomography. Now, let's continue to the treatment. Treatment for this one is typically involves managing diabetes effectively to control blood sugar levels and prevent further damages in the retina. This may include medication, laser therapy, or surgical interventions in advanced cases. Now, let's continue to the prevention. Prevention involves controlling blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels through lifestyle changes like medication and regular screenings. Now, let's talk about the before and after treatment. Before treatment, diabetic retinopathy causing complications such as retinal swelling in abnormal blood vessels in the retina. And after treatment, particularly with early intervention and effective diabetes management, the progression can be slowed or halted. So, as I said earlier, with a proper healthcare, we can prevent vision loss or reduce the progression of the disease. Now, let's talk about the availability of vaccine. Since we all know that this disease is not associated in any pathogens like bacteria or viruses, therefore there are no specific vaccines for this disease. Now let's continue to discuss the possible microbes in categories. So, since diabetic retinopathy is not caused by any microbial pathogens, therefore there are no specific categories of microbes in this disease. And as we can see in the picture, diabetic retinopathy can cause greatly, especially in the blood vessels in the retina, which it can lead to vision impairment or eventually blindness. Now, let's continue to the next eye disease, which is the macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is an age-related retinal condition. There are two types of it, which is the wet and dry macular degeneration. So, wet macular degeneration involves abnormal blood vessel growth, which it can cause leakage and damages to the macula, while the dry macular degeneration involves gradual breakdown in light-sensitive cells. And both of it can cause vision loss in the central vision. There are treatment but there are no cure. Let's continue to the background of the disease. Macular degeneration is a progressive age-related eye condition, which is it happens when a part called retina is damaged, affecting the central vision, which is it can be a leading cause of vision loss, primarily in older people. Now, let's talk about the present pathogen in the disease. Macular degeneration is not caused by infectious pathogens since it is more associated in aging and genetics. And as we can see in the picture above, we have the normal vision and a vision with AMD. And as we notice that it only affects the central vision. Now, let's talk about the reported cases. The reported cases in this eye disease is associated with older people, especially those over age of 50, and that is increasing with advancing age. The transmission. So, as we all know, this disease is not associated in any infectious pathogens like bacteria and viruses. Therefore, this is not a transmittable disease because since it is a primarily result of aging and genetic factors. Now, let's talk about the causes of the disease. The exact cause involves genetics, environmental, and lifestyle factors, including chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. So, let's continue to the symptoms. Symptoms of macular degeneration may include blurry or distorted central vision, difficulty reading or recognizing faces, and a dark or blurry spot in the center of vision. So, as we all notice, our grandparents is having a hard time of reading books or sometimes recognizing faces because of this disease. Now, let's continue to the diagnosis. The diagnosis is very similar to the diabetic retinopathy since it's typically progressed through eye examination, visual acuity test, dilated eye examination, and imaging tests such as optical coherence tomography. Now, let's continue to the treatment. Treatment options for macular degeneration depend on the type of the disease. Also, the treatment may include medication injected into the eye, laser therapy, and photodynamic therapy. Now, let's talk about the prevention. So, prevention progress through maintaining a healthy lifestyle, avoiding smoking, protecting the eyes from UV exposures. Now, let's talk about the before and after result. So, before treatment, blurry central vision, distorted vision, or vision loss. And after treatment, it improves central vision, reduction in distortion, and potentially stabilize or slow progression of the condition. Now, let's talk about the availability of vaccines. So, once again, I said there is no potentially infectious pathogen in this disease. So, therefore, there is no specific vaccines for this disease. Now, let's continue to discuss the possible microbes in categories. Just like the diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration is not associated in any specific categories of microbes since it is primarily caused by old age and genetic factors. And as we can see in the picture here, it is the progress of macular degeneration, which is a leading way of losing vision or eventually blindness in central vision. And that's it for today. I hope you learned something, and thank you for everyone to listen in our report. That's it. Thank you and goodbye.